I'm going to kind of do it almost like a countdown for the 5 games that I picked to be excited about from opening night. So
I like that.
number 5 was number 2 Gonzaga at home over North Florida. Now, was it a really competitive game? No. North Florida got off to a nice little start. They were actually leading there for a little bit of time, but the Zags went on a 26-0 run. They were up by 20 points at halftime. The final score was very lopsided. But the thing I took away from this game with Gonzaga was everything played out the way it should be. Drew Timme led the way, top scorer with 22 points, helped on the boards. That's how it should be if Gonzaga is going to go to the Final Four. Timme and Malachi, they led the team in minutes, and that's how it has to be. It's how it's going to be throughout the season if Gonzaga is going to go deep into the tournament. They out-rebounded the Osprey. They nearly doubled up in the number of assists. They had balanced scoring. That's how it needs to be for Gonzaga to be successful. So everything I wanted to see out of this game, I didn't expect it to be competitive. And I got to give Carter Henderson some credit for North Florida. He needs to get some love nationally. I mean, he's a good player. I mean, he was the absolute best player on the North Florida side of things. But Gonzaga did what it had to do. And this is what good Gonzaga teams do. They do what they have to do. Yeah, they'll have some big games. Yeah, there'll be some really exciting individual performances. But they just do what has to get done. So for me, for their opening game, Gonzaga took care of North Florida as they needed to. Front of the home crowd, things seem to be good in Zagland.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I think first and foremost about North Florida, I think the A-Sun is going to be a lot better than people give it credit for this year. I think we saw already on Monday with other teams like Jacksonville against Duke. I think the A-Sun's going to be really good. But I hope that what you saw and you're happy with it is what they feel good about as well, because this is really their only warm-up game, if you will. They dive right in to some tough competition on Friday. They head to play Michigan State in the Armed Forces Classic. Then they got Texas. Then they got Kentucky. Next 3 games are going to be tough. Gonzaga's got to bring it. I hope they're ready.
Based on what I saw there, you can see it. They know a Mark Few coach team knows what's expected of them in any given situations. They practice for situations that are going to come up against elite teams. You talk about Michigan State, I think it's the next one you said, if I'm not mistaken, in the Armed Forces Classic. And they use their opponents, North Florida, maybe. So let's say they take a Carter Henderson and say, he kind of reminds me of this guy or that guy, or what he brings, on the offensive end. This is how we're going to have to try to isolate him and shut him down. Few is a genius at stuff like that. So, yes, it's a good breather. It's a glorified scrimmage, if you will. But I don't think that Few or Gonzaga fans or the Gonzaga players would have it any other way than being challenged right from the start to show. I mean, they're that little guy with a lot of talent on the playground that has that chip on the shoulder because he's the little guy. And as good as he is, he's still the little guy. He's not the big guy. He's not the big leaper, or he's not really fast, or he's not vertical. He's just good and just helps his team win. So I think Gonzaga needs to play that way. And by playing all the big teams early, I think that just sets the tone for the rest of their season.
Mark Few versus Tom Izzo on Veterans Day, 6:30 Eastern time on ESPN. Count me in. I'm looking forward to that one.